Hey guys, Chris Superfast RC, and today I'm giving you my review on the Team Associated RC8B4e. This is the latest generation e-buggy from Team Associated. It was released earlier this year, and I'm going to top to bottom go through the car and let you know what I think of the actual new design with the e-buggy here. So a lot of things have changed from the B3.2. This is basically an entirely new car, new parts everywhere. There's some parts that interchange, but not a lot is actually interchanged. The rear end has a couple of parts that interchange, but the tower's different, the arms are different, the hubs are different, and even the links. They're physically the same, but they're using different plastics. So, yeah, a lot of differences. The wing mount is also different and a big improvement over the B3.2. This is a much beefier wing mount. I actually broke probably 5 rear wing mounts on my B3.2. So, and not actually, mistreating it at all. Haven't had an issue with this one at all. The front end on the B4 is completely different from the B3.2. I'll go ahead and show you what I'm talking about here. So here's my B3.2. And you can see the difference in the hub design there. See how the kingpin inclination is different on the B3 than it is on the B4? The B4, the hubs are pretty much straight up and down. So you've got a wider inner pivot here than you do on the B3, and it gives you more steering. I don't know how it does, but it does. The B4 turns on a dime, unlike the B3. The B3 was a great car at turning, but the B4 is just the next level, guys. So that is part of it. The geometry in the front end on the B4 is completely different than the B3. The rear end, geometry-wise, you can actually bolt a B4 rear end diff case onto a B3.2, and it'll give you, you can run the B4 arms and all that stuff on the B3, and it'll give you the B4 rear end on the B3, but you're not going to get the front end of the B4 on the B3. So if you're looking for the total package, you got to go with the B4, guys. Another thing I want to point out here with the B3.2 versus the B4. So what we've got going on here, if you notice, the layout is completely different. Both cars are nothing like each other. The B4 is, of course, I'm using the saddle pack setup. And this is also obviously a stick pack. So also another thing, they actually moved the center drive line directly down the middle of the car on the B4. There's no offset like there is here on the B3. This just helps with, center of gravity stuff, weight distribution balance. It really does change a lot of handling characteristics by what they've done here. The B4 is also a narrower setup than the B3. Some people are kind of mixed on that. I like it because my aggressive driving style. If you don't have an aggressive driving style, you might find issue with it, but I think it's perfect. Everything right here. Associated did a good job. They did their homework and made the best of both worlds. Yeah, some guys are kind of mad about having to change out packs and go to saddles or use shorties when they're used to running the big brick packs. Especially if you're running truggy and buggy, you can't share packs between your cars. I understand that. That's kind of a pain in the butt, but handling wise, the B4's got it where the B3 doesn't. The B3 is not a bad car, guys. I've won races with the B3. It does a good job, but the B4 is just that much better. So you can see there's a couple parts here that are the same. These links are the same part. The actual rear body mount on the B4 actually has a shock absorption in it, whereas the B3 is a solid piece. The wing mount, like I said already, totally beefier. As you can see, this one likes to crack right here in the middle on the B3. The B4 is not a problem. The hubs, the rear hubs on the B4 are completely different. They're kind of like the factory team V2 hubs for the B3, whereas they have the middle hole and they have 3 options for holes instead of just the 2 that you find on the B3. B4's got the 3 hole. So also the arms are completely different between the 2 cars. The B4, obviously, we're back to our pocketed and lightened kind of arms, whereas the B3 used the plate arms basically as standard. You ran plates on the B3, whereas on the B4 you don't have to run plates. You can run it completely naked and it's not going to cause any issues with your arms braking. So the arms on the B4 are more rigid, and yeah, just better, guys. So like I said, center of gravity definitely moved in tighter to the center line here on the B4 versus the V3. And the front end, the king pin inclination, like I said, the B4 is just a much better handling beast in my opinion. Let's go ahead and get the B3 out of here. We've gone through the B3 plenty of times. We don't need to talk about that car. So let me talk to you about what I've got going on with my B4 right here. So the front end, let's just start from the front, work our way to the back. The front end, I'm running the Associated aluminum upper pivot balls. The shock package I'm running is Shell. Running the Shell, I believe, this set right here. So the Shell Racing 1457 Pro Built 5-hole set is what I'm running front and rear in the car. I'm running 45 weight in the front, 40 weight in the rear. You could also run 42.5 weight in the rear, depending on your temperature, guys. Obviously, you want to keep that, you know, in line with what you've got going on the day of your race. So make sure you don't do anything. You keep your shock package for your temperatures, right? So using the Shell 5 holes, love them. Also inside the shocks here, on the shock shafts, I'm running the Shell. These are bump stops. So I'm actually using the full bump stop in the rear. I'm running emulsion pistons, guys. So emulsion shock caps, which is going to give it, you know, just more pack at the top end of the stroke. And I just like it better than the hard bladders. And then if you're in the front, I'm running these with the 2 lines of these cut off. So, and that just like, see if you can see this right here, that is the shock bumper. And it's just kind of helping the shock deal with that pressure when it goes to full compression. So the cap doesn't have to deal with all of it all at once. So those are really helpful, and I highly recommend them. Check them out, Shell Racing Innovations, shellracing.com. All right, moving on from that. The shock springs I'm running the V2 grays up front. You can see that right there, the gray spring. And then I'm running V2 blacks in the rear. You can also run browns if your track is a little bit less, the jumps aren't as big. You don't need as much suspension in the back. Front, I'm running in the front, it's 10K in the front diff. I'm also running the 17 millimeter outdrives, just to keep from popping out a dog bone. I haven't had it happen, haven't seen anybody do it, but they come with the 15s from the factory, so I like having that little extra insurance, right? So I'm also running the Shell Racing screw kit, the titanium screw kit, all throughout the car. You can see right here, let's kind of zoom in on these parts. So these are titanium screws, and some screws are stainless steel. They're mixed in there where they needed strength and where they don't need the ultimate shear strength. They are using the stainless screws. So look at the bottom of the car. As you can see, there are certain positions where I have titanium screws and certain positions where there are still steel screws, where we need that shear resistance, and like the motor mount here, where we need that, like I said, shear resistance to keep the car from, you know, breaking the screws. Front and back screws are still steel. I'm not running any arms inserts on the car. I don't find it necessary at my track. I've seen some people run the carbon inserts. I don't think it needs it, but you know, your mileage may vary on that. So, all right, moving on to the electronic package that I'm running. I'm running the Savox SB2292SG servo. This is a beast of a servo, guys. It's got like 500 ounces of torque or 600 ounces of torque at like 0.07. It's a ridiculous servo. Plenty for this car, and plenty for any A scale, really. My radio, receiver, and transponder is all mounted inside the receiver box, antennaless. Don't see a need for an antenna anymore, guys, so it all fits nicely within the box. And they do give you a set screw, so if you're not running an antenna, you can actually put the set screw in there and block off from any dirt getting in there and causing issues with your radio box. It's totally clean in there. All right, Z-Run XR8 SCT doesn't need any introduction. This is a perfect ESC for this buggy. You know, people are running the XR8 Pro. Yeah, it's a little heavier. It's got a little more current carrying capabilities, but let me tell you guys, I've actually had this motor right here is 2200 kV track star, 2100 kV track star. And I've actually got a little bit of puffing after a long run from high amp draw from this motor and ESC combo, which is why I'm going to move to the 1900 kV. This motor is awesome. It's got tons of punch. I think it gets me in more trouble than it does good. So I'm going to move back down to 1900 kV, drop that amp draw down a little bit, just to kind of save the batteries a little bit. I think the 1900 kV will be just fine. Like I said, moving back to the motor, I am running the Trackstar 2100 kV brushless motor. I have had zero issues with it, guys. It's been perfect, performed flawlessly. Like I said, it's got plenty of punch. Have not had any issues at all with the motor. This motor is like 60 bucks, guys. Can't go wrong with it. Like I said, I think amp draw is a little bit high for the battery package that I'm running. So I'm going to go back to a 1900 kV. Just kind of save the, the wear and tear on the actual batteries, because batteries are not cheap, guys. All right, electronics. Here's the batteries. I am running the Reedy Zappers SG5, 6400 milliamp hour LIHV packs. These are 90C, and they fit perfectly here in the trays. It's like the car was designed for it, right? And of course, Reedy batteries, right? It's all associated stuff. So they fit nicely in there. I've had guys ask me, what do you do with the extra straps? The extra length on the straps, just cut them off. It's easy enough. And it makes it look super clean. And you put a little angle on it like that, and you're good to go. The bullet connectors, these are the Reedy grip bullets. Do I think they're necessary? Not really. You don't need them. You can use the ones that come with the batteries. But they're just a nice piece of bling to have. And they plug up nice like that, and they're pretty easy to unplug too, right? So my switch wire runs underneath. Use the nitro brake disc keeper, kind of drembled out the bottom of it so I could run my switch wire through it. And there we go. Turn that off. You hear that? Okay. I'm also running a rocket fan on top of the ESC just for durability. Yeah. Center, I'm running 10K. Center differential, I've had zero issues with it. Been perfect, flawless, nothing to complain about. Once again, shell racing screws in the rear brace on the plate here. Titanium throughout the rear end. And yeah, so one weird thing in this car is it's not using a universal drive shaft or a CVA on the center drive line. These are just dog bones, which I was kind of bummed at first. I'm just like, man, why don't we have a universal or a CVD on the center drive train? Until I realized, oh man, what about drive pin wear? So dog bones are a lot cheaper to replace than a CVA or a universal. So basically, when your drive pins wear out, you just chuck a new dog bone in there and you're good to go, guys. You don't have to worry about buying a $50 CVD to replace your center drive line, right? You just buy the bone, you're good to go. So cool idea. Haven't had any issues with them popping out or any of that stuff. My wiring here, pretty straightforward, nice and clean, and does the job just fine. So haven't had any issues with the electronics layout. I think it works to the car's favor, having the split batteries, and it's just a super easy car to drive, for me at least. Rear end, once again, running the shell racing pistons in the rear, and I'm running emulsion caps, and I have the full set of shell, the full length bump stops in the rear, you can see right there. So screws again, titanium all throughout the back. This is the shell racing rear tower. Like I said, this car is pretty much the shell racing car, and yeah, works great for me. So, I've had any issues with the car at all, guys? I wish I had something to report. I don't. Moving from the B3 to this platform, it's like a night and day difference as far as your corner entry and exit, and as far as speed and traction on power exiting the corner. The B4 is just totally hooked up as a comparison to the B3. The B3 kind of did that wiggling thing when you exited the corner and it didn't want to go straight. The B4 is like an arrow, point it, shoot it, it goes. There's no more rear end all over the place nonsense like the B3 had. You could tame the B3 down in the rear end by running, you know, thinner weight oil in the diff and, you know, funny stuff with the shocks, but B4, they've got it right out of the box. And man, I just don't have any complaints with the car at all. If I had any gripes, let's see if I could find one real quick. I just don't have one, guys. Wow. Nothing.
2 minutes left.
I don't have anything. Sorry. Call me a fanboy. I'm not. I like the Kyosho stuff. It's cool. I like that it's, you know, wider. It's different than this car. It's easier to, you know, drive for anybody that can just kind of grab the controller and take off. You don't have to be an associated driver to appreciate it. I like the Mugen stuff. I like the X-Ray stuff. I have an X-Ray Truggy. I run that too alongside this one, so I'm not an associated fanboy. I have had, you know, each generation of their e-buggy, and, you know, I've told you that the B3 was not perfect. Far from. And we all know the original RC8 worked originally, but, you know, it kind of aged with time, and they really never found victory with it after a certain point in time. So, yeah, guys, bearing quality's been good.
1 minute left.
Gear quality's excellent. Build went perfect. I mean, I don't think there's any hiccups in the build at all. Everything was in the box with the kit.
45 seconds left.
And the car performs absolutely fantastic for me. I mean, this car has made me a faster driver, and I'm going to keep running it, guys, especially through the end of the season. I can't wait for the Truggy to come out. You know, we've been waiting and waiting, and, you know, nothing's happened yet. They just dropped the a B74.2 today, so hopefully maybe the Truggy's the next release. I don't know. But getting a Truggy out there with the B4 Kingpin inclination, the new hubs, and you know, the wider pivot, man, and saddles, or, you know, in the Truggy I would hope maybe we'd use stick packs just because the Truggy requires more power and we've got more length to deal with the packs anyways, so stick packs would be cool to see in the Truggy, but I guess we could run shorties. Yeah, right? Better for weight distribution and everything. Anyways, guys, I wish I had something to complain about. I wish I did, but man, the RC8B4e and the B4 really are the full package. I mean, everything. I mean, like I said, I've got a couple mods here and there, but you can build it kit stock and go to the track and actually absolutely dominate with this car, and you're gonna have a great time with it. So, if you have any questions about my car, specifically this one, let me know. This has been my review of the associated RC8B4e. I'm going to overlay some video of the races in with the review here, just to kind of show you how it runs and what I've been able to do with it. So, anyways, guys, it's been Chris Superfast RC. This has been my review of the RC8B4e. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and the Truggy when it comes out, right? And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.